We have two special guests tonight. The first one is the Reverend Steven L on my left. He's a renowned national speaker on God, the Constitution, the Bible, morality, and the traditional American way. Spends much of his time spreading the word across our country. He has graced us this evening with a nice presentation. Please welcome the Reverend.
Don't worry about stumbling over your words. We're only human. Once we get the idea in our head that we're supposed to be perfect, we miss the mark. Looking at your sign there, Ocean City Citizens, Ocean County Citizens for Freedom, Liberty, and Prosperity, a grassroots Tea Party group. Dynamic begins with Don't Tread on Me. I'm Reverend Steven L. I am an ordained minister of the American Baptist Churches, and tonight we're going to go in a little different direction. We're going to deal with the issue and unpack the issue. Exactly where does our liberty come from? Where does our freedom come from? Does it come from economics? Does it come from politics? Does it even come from education and school budgets? Or does it come from a higher source? Yes. All right, you guys are with me. We're going to unpack that tonight because one of the weaknesses that I see in my beloved country is the fact that we are putting literally the cart before the horse. We are dealing with, we are making majors minors and making minors major. It is true that we have serious economic issues in America. It's true we have serious fiscal issues in America. And it's true that we have serious educational issues in America. However, none of our political problems, none of our economic problems, none of our social problems will never be solved if we don't deal with the moral and spiritual context which is driving everything else. We have economic problems today in America, I would contend, ladies and gentlemen, simply because we have a serious moral and spiritual problem. And yet, if we sit back and wait for Washington or even Trenton or whoever to address the moral and spiritual issues that's bringing America down, we not only will not prosper, but we'll lose our prosperity and we will lose our freedom. So, with that said, first thing I'm going to read to you is one passage of scripture. In Psalms 127 verse 1 says, "Except the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keeps the city, the watchman waits in vain." When God, through David, talks about a watchman, he is literally talking about a prophet. Someone that stands at the gates of the city and literally watches. Watches to see what is right and watches to see what is wrong. This presentation, Morality and Freedom, America's Dynamic Duel, it was put out by the John Birch Society. I took the idea and they asked me to do some speaking for them because I am a Bircher. And I decided to go around the country and share that much needed but much neglected message. So let's get into this. First of all, the foundations of our freedom as Americans. The scripture says that if the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? The foundations of America, ladies and gentlemen, are the Judaic Christian heritage. Not Islam, not Hinduism, not postmodernism, not secular humanism, none of that. Not Hinduism, none of that. The foundations of America is based on the Judeo-Christian ethic. End of discussion. That's our foundation. And I contend, ladies and gentlemen, the reason reason why we are in serious decline today, the reason why our great nation is literally going to hell in a handbasket is because we have forgotten that foundation. We have made man the measure of all things. And God will never take a backseat to the foolishness of men. In fact, God says that the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisdom of men. So when I go to different meetings, whether they're 9/12, Tea Party, or whatever, I don't care what the meetings are. Liberals, conservatives, right wing, left wing, middle wing, chicken wing, whatever. When I go to these meetings and I hear the emphasis being placed on deficits, on education, on balancing the budget, on all of these economic issues, I listen intently to see when are they going to deal with the root foundational issue, what's driving all the rest of the issues. Because even with all of our economic problems that we have, every economic problem has a social and moral perspective. I'll give you one case in point. Teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy costs a whole lot of money for a long, long time. But teenage pregnancy will never be solved by throwing more money at the problem. Teenage pregnancy is a moral and spiritual issue. And until we can get young people to understand that young boys need to keep their zippers up and young girls need to keep their dresses down, we'll never solve the problem. I worked as a prison chaplain for years in state penitentiaries and also worked for the feds in the federal system. And inmates who were convicted sex offenders would come to me and say, Reverend Kraft, let me ask you a question. Why is it that I have to register when I get out of prison as a sex offender? Why is it that I am legally discriminated against for the rest of my life with a felony jacket as a sex offender? Yet the moment I get out of prison, I can get on any computer and pull up millions of pornography sites. Which way is it? Is pornography wrong only when we get caught? The gambler will come up to me and say, Reverend Kraft, why should I be condemned for playing blackjack or gambling or taking my hard-earned money and giving it to the casino when on the billboards it says, go to this casino, go to that casino, go to this casino, get on the riverboat. We need the revenue from gambling in order to balance the budget. And yet at the same time condemn gambling. Which way is it, you all? We want our cake and eat it too. These are moral issues. How on the same token can I tell a drug dealer, look, if I catch you slinging marijuana, I'm going to slap you in the joint. And then in the next breath, tell somebody, oh, you got glaucoma, I'm going to give you some marijuana so you feel it. It's a bunch of nonsense. We can't have it both ways. It's either one way or the other. And the problem is we have no moral discernment. We have no moral discernment. And the reason being is because people have not gotten into the Bible and says, okay, we have to have a consensus on what is moral and what is not. So immediately some people who are not Christians, who don't want to hear that, rise up, well, you can't legislate morality, Reverend Kraft. Hasn't anyone ever told you that? Everybody has their own ideas of what's right and what's wrong. And I say, really? That's the problem. The murderer thinks, hey, what's wrong with murder? Murder's my game. The thief will say, what's wrong with stealing? Stealing is my game. But the postmodernists will come back and say, oh, there's no such thing as absolute rights and wrong. Absolute morality, throw that out the window. Everybody's got to choose for themselves what's right and what's wrong. Really? Well, then if that's true, what are we building penitentiary for? We have no right to lock up anybody for anything. When I talk to my so-called liberal friends, and I ask them, sir, ma'am, do you believe in absolute morality and absolute truth? They say, no, Reverend, there's no such thing. All morality is relative. And then I'll say, is that absolutely true? And they say, absolutely. It's a bunch of nonsense. Our problem is we want our cake and eat it too. We want to promote sex like it's going out of style, and at the same time condemn people when they act out on that behavior. We want to promote gambling, we want to promote abortion, we want to promote all of these moral issues, and then at the same time, we say, okay, it's all right to murder your unborn child, but as soon as they come out of the womb, you better not kill them, because then that's a crime. So it's not a crime 5 minutes before, but it's a murder 5 minutes after. That's moral confusion. So what do we have here? We have to look at our foundations. What are our foundations as Americans? Our rights come from God, not the government. We hold these truths, Declaration of Independence says. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That means a blind person can see it. That all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator, not their evolutionists. By their Creator. We're in a building. Did it evolve within somebody's building? Everything that's built, common sense tells us has a builder. Everything that's created, common sense tells us has a creator. It takes a whole lot more faith to believe in evolution than to believe that a God created us. And this creator gave us certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have to tie in the creator with life. You have to tie in the creator with liberty. No creator, no liberty. We want liberty without the Creator. It won't work. Our God-given rights are secured by the U.S. Constitution. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, women, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. Government of, by, and for the people. Freedom principles, part 1. All men and women are created equal. Therefore, they have equal natural rights as a gift from the Creator. We don't need legislation giving men or women equal rights. God did that from the giddy up.
Amen.
When God created the first man and woman, He created Adam from the dust of the earth and then gave him a helpmeet. Didn't take Eve out of Adam's head to be over top of Adam. Didn't take Eve out of Adam's feet to be below Adam. Didn't take Eve out of Adam's chest to be in front of Adam. Didn't take Eve out of Adam's back to be behind Adam. God took Eve out of Adam's side, which meant she was equal to him from Jump Street. Hello, somebody. And yet we got to come up with legislation to prove that people are equal. Well, guess what? You can write all the laws you want. People have a sinful nature. They're never going to look at each other as equal. We don't need people to give us equality. God did that from day one. And it is our duty to seek and follow the will of the Creator. If every human being followed the will of the Creator, we wouldn't have the mess we have today. We wouldn't have to rejoice about Osama bin Laden being murdered. We wouldn't have to cry about 9/11. We wouldn't have to worry about all of these social ills and moral ills and all this madness that we have. We wouldn't have to worry about any of these things, because if everybody simply did the will of the Creator, it would be a utopia. It would be heaven on earth, and we wouldn't have to go to Washington to find it. The authority of the Creator must be respected for liberty to endure. The reason why we're losing our liberty is because the authority of the Creator is no longer respected.
That's right.
God says, you forget me, I'll forget you.
That's right.
To be honest with you, I didn't rejoice when they shot that man's head off Sunday. You know why I didn't rejoice? Not that I wasn't glad he was out of the way, but I knew this. Rejoice for what? They got 100,000 more ready to step up to the plate.
That's right.
And now they sure have an excuse to get crazy. Them folks was crazy before they got him. And don't come telling me in 10 years they didn't know where that man was hiding. We got GPS where somebody can tell you who's in this room right now. And they couldn't find him. So much nonsense. Of course they knew where that man was. But when they got tired of him, when they said he's done, we don't need him anymore. We don't need the boogeyman called Osama bin Laden. Now we'll take him out. And then use that as an excuse, as that rascal, whoever that new mayor is, Ron, whatever his name is, said, never let a good crisis go to waste. Yeah. How he went from being chief of staff, now he's running Chicago out of thin air. If we put our faith and trust in men and in politics, we are fools. Because human beings, I don't care if they're Republicans or Democrats, I don't care if they're liberals or conservatives, I don't care if they're right wing, left wing, or chicken wing. If we put our faith and trust in wicked and sinful human beings, we are a losing team. For the Lord says, unless the Lord builds the house, we labor in vain. We might as well just sit down and give it up if we're going to trust men. We see the same process over and over. Right, the right gets in, the left rises up and says, get the bums out, we'll do better. Then they vote those bums out, put the other side in, and it's the same mess. Not a thing changes. Not a thing. Because we're all dealing with wicked men. Some have D's behind their names, some have R's, some have I's. Some call themselves conservatives, some call themselves liberals, some call themselves independents. But you guess what? They're all human and they're all sinners. They tell you one thing, then they get up there and do something totally different. That's the reason why we got to get back to the foundations, ladies and gentlemen. We got to get our priorities right. We got to put the cart behind the horse and say, Lord, unless you fix this thing with our help by giving our hearts to you and obeying your commandments, unless we do it your way, it's ball game. There's a God-given natural right to life. How is it after 38 years, Roe versus Wade is still on the books? I don't care if the Republicans were in, the pro-lifers, the liberals, the leftists, the socialists, the Marxists, the abortionists, the who's, the whatsies. Makes no difference. 38 years and they haven't gotten rid of, they haven't reversed Roe versus Wade yet. There's a reason for that. Because all it is a lot of rhetoric. Don't tell me it takes 38 years to reverse something. They want to reverse it. They would have reversed it. Have no intention of reversing it. It's just good political fodder. There's a God-given right to acquire property and secure and use property for safety and happiness. These are God's given rights. Nobody can take them away from us through legislation or anything else. But we lose them because we let them take them. And the reason why we let them take our rights is because we have made man God and cast God, kicked God to the curb. That's right. That's the problem. We think, oh, well, let's get rid of those bums and put our people in, and then they'll do the right thing. Really? Don't hold your breath. Freedom Principles, Part 2. Men and women have the right and the duty to form governments to secure what? God-given rights. We forgot that. We form government based on our political ideologies and our political philosophies, and then get upset when they don't work. How can they work? We're starting off with a faulty foundation that's built on quicksand. Men and women are authorized by the Creator to defend these rights through the governments that they form. From this God-given authority proceeds the right and duty to defend national sovereignty and the security of these United States of America. The majority of people in America right now don't even understand sovereignty. They talk about globalism. And all this nonsense. And then we talk about this stuff like it's something new, the New World Order. New World Order is in the Bible. Right. Started off in the Tower of Babel. Daniel talks about it. Revelations talks about it. When we want to find out what the real deal is, ladies and gentlemen, when we want to find out how the thing really rolls, we don't need to turn on Fox News, CNN, ABC, CBC, or whatever. All we got to do is crack open the scriptures. The scriptures written thousands of years ago will tell you what's going to happen 100 years from now, will tell you what's going to happen in eternity, and yet human beings think they know what's going to happen in the future, and we don't even know what's going to happen tonight. Some of us might walk out of this Tea Party meeting and drop dead. But yet we want to tell you that the earth was created 1 million years ago. Tell me how you know that. It's a bunch of nonsense. I saw this knucklehead in the subway yesterday carrying this stupid sign. Why do you saw it? Judgment Day, May 21st. I looked at that fool. I didn't see those bills. I said, man, what Bible you read now? King James. I said, no, you're lying. I said, if I could stand right here in this train station on the A train and wait till May 21st, I guarantee you nothing's going to happen. You know why? Because the Bible doesn't teach that. The Bible says no man knows the day and the hour but God. They're spreading that lie all over. Why? Because that's a conspiracy to make people disbelieve the Bible. No judgment day on no May 21st. Jesus said nobody knows when it's going to happen. But he said in a twinkling of an eye, it's going to happen. You know how long it takes you to twinkle your eye? Cool, I did it already. Governments are made legitimate by the consent of the free and equal persons who form and sustain them. That's the true purpose of government. Limited government controlled and sustained by the free people who ordain them. We don't have that anymore. And God is permitting us to go into slavery and bondage. Why? Because we decided, as Frank Sinatra used to say, I'll do it my way. Without God. Who needs God? What did we have last week? 200 and some tornadoes in one day? Not to mention Japan, Haiti. Every time you look around now, what did Jesus say? He said in the last days there's going to be earthquakes in many places. He said that over 1,000 years ago. Are there earthquakes in many places? He said kingdoms will rise against kingdoms and nations against nations. Do we see that? He said men would get exceedingly worse. Evil men would wax worse and worse. He didn't say they were going to evolve and get better and better. How is it that we can come up with all this new technology? Can figure out this and figure out that and figure out this and figure out that. We have technology for everything. Where is the moral technology? While we're going up technologically, we're going down morally. What's the problem if we're really evolving? Why are we getting better? Seems like we're going up and going down at the same time. We got cell phones, iPads, iPods, Kindles, this, that, and the other. I can't even keep up with the mess. And yet, morally, we're going to hell in a handbasket. What's the problem? What do you think God's more concerned with? Our moral behavior or our money? You already know the answer to that. I don't think Jesus died on the cross so that we could have a big bank account. Because the day we leave planet Earth, He's not going to ask us how much money we had in the bank. He's not going to ask us anything about our bread and butter issues. He's going to ask us one question. What did you do with my son? Let's contrast the purpose of the United States, a sovereign constitutional republic that we talk about in the John Birch Society, versus the conspiratorial government based on the one world government, totalitarian one world government sponsored by the United Nations. 3 levels. First, on the government level. A sovereign constitutional republic, which we are not a democracy. Most people in America don't even know that.
You, Reverend, thank you for saying God is so
Amen. I know. Hey, you must be a Pentecostal. Less government. Restoration of our constitutional republic, not our democracy. Because what happens with a democracy? When you have the 50 plus 1 that are devils and that are rascals, guess what? The minority, if the minority are moral people and the majority are wicked, guess what? We have a problem. Mob rule, you're right, brother. Compare that with the UN, totalitarian government. Total government, that's where we get the word totalitarianism from. Totalitarian, United Nations, one world government. And that's what we're moving to. That's what Daniel tells you.
That's right.
That's what Revelations tells you. Revelations tells you that this one world government thing will happen. There will be a person who will be literally the president of the world. And his name, the Bible says, his title is Antichrist. And what do we see? The world is becoming more and more Antichrist and anti-Christian. How would Daniel know that unless God told him and had it recorded in the Bible? John and Al and Patmos, while he was incarcerated out there in that island, said what would happen to the economic system. That there would be a system where no one would be able to do any economics. No one would be able to buy and sell anything unless they had a mark in their forehead or in their right hand. We already have that. Not the mark, for the technology to bring it to pass. A cashless society. How would John know that? Except God told him. You can trust that Bible. You can trust that Bible being the Word of God. Why? Because it's prophetic. Everything that's in there happens like clockwork, and yet it wasn't written last night. It was written thousands of years ago. So challenge any unbeliever to explain to you how is it that what's in the Bible happens like clockwork, and yet the Bible was written thousands of years ago. There's only one explanation. Men and women who are supernaturally moved by the Spirit of God, who knows all things, were told what to write. There's no human explanation for it. Because human beings don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. No less 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years from now. But yet what's in that Bible happens like clockwork. That's how you know the Bible's true. On a personal level, personally, God wants us to have more personal responsibility by an increasing degree of freely adhering to absolute moral principles. Not being cursed, not being made to live morally, but freely doing it from the heart.
Amen.
Saying, I will not patronize the casinos. I will not smoke crack. I will not drink liquor out of proportion. I will not abuse my kids. I will not practice perversion. I will not kill my unborn children. Why, sir? Why, man? Because it's wrong. End of discussion.
Amen.
Totalitarian one world government at the personal level is an absence of all personal responsibility with zero adherence to absolute moral principles. That's where we get the idea of postmodern thinking, that there are no absolute truths. That's where we get the idea of to each his own. That's where we get the idea of live and let live. That's where we get the idea that one man's values is no better or no worse than another's. That's a lie. Sounds nice, but it's not but a politically correct lie. And it's easy enough to discern it's a lie. Because if it was really true, then we're playing both ends against the middle. We're saying on one hand, if you commit a murder, we're going to lock you up or execute you. But then on the other hand, we commit murders by murdering the most innocent. How is it that people who embrace abortion have no problem executing innocent unborn babies, but they have a serious problem and they wring their hands and shed crocodile tears over executing guilty murderers? Think about that. How is it that every human being that I know of on planet Earth came into existence through heterosexuality, yet you're told if you don't believe in perversion, you're homophobic? Well, you know what I tell those folks? I'll be homophobic and you're heterophobic and we'll both be phobic together. And then I asked them, how'd you get on planet Earth? Was it with 2 men? Or 2 women? Or did you have to have a man and a woman in the mix? All that mess is chasing after their own perverted lusts and desires. How are you going to have a whole movement that's based around what you do in the dark in the bedroom? I'm a heterosexual. I've been married to one woman 32 years. I don't go around passing legislation and marching in Washington to declare that I'm out of the closet as a heterosexual. It's a bunch of nonsense. The cultural level, the collective level, a better world, which means greater adherence to moral principles by citizens in general versus a completely amoral world with no adherence to moral principles. That's the problem we have now. Everybody doing their own thing. Well, guess what? That's in the Bible, in the book of Judges. The Bible said in the book of Judges that everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Now you don't understand? We think people are just coming up with this stuff yesterday. Some professor at Harvard come up with this. No, God peeps our whole card. God tells us what we're going to think before we even think it. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. God says in another place through Solomon, in the book of Proverbs, there is a way that, here's a key word, seems right to a man, but the end of those ways are death. See, there's a lot of things in life that seem right, but there's a problem, ladies and gentlemen, they're not right. It seems right to say, well, I don't want to have a child. I can't afford to have to carry this pregnancy to term. So I'm just going to get rid of this child. I have a choice. This is my body. Really? When did you create you? What do you mean it's your body? When did you make you? Your body was given to you as a gift from God. You had nothing to do with it. Did your mama abort you? Eh? It seems right to say I don't want a child, therefore I have the right to choose to terminate the pregnancy. If a woman is pregnant, she's carrying a baby, not products of conception. There's no such thing as halfway pregnant. I tell kids when I talk to kids or adults, Reverend Pat, I can't afford a child. I say, okay, I understand that. Don't have sex, because last time I checked, sex makes babies. Reverend Pat, that's not real. That's not being, yes it is. Get married and do the thing right. Your mama didn't kill you. When I go talk to the inmates, they go, oh, I couldn't live without having sex. I died. How long you been in the penitentiary, fool? 20 years. You ain't out nothing unless you was messing with them boys. People are deceived. They're deceived morally. Morality Principles Part 1. To enjoy, and this is important, ladies and gentlemen, because you're going to see the direct tie in here with morality and freedom. To enjoy the right of political self-government, what we want or claim to want, men and women, look at this, must be capable of personal self-government. Has nothing to do with Washington or Trenton. It has everything to do with morality.
Amen.
Morality and the virtue of self-control. A people without decency cannot be secure in liberty. We could stop the PowerPoint right now and say end of discussion. If I wasn't a preacher, I'd be a lawyer. Because I challenge anyone to deny the truth of that statement. A people without decency cannot be secure in liberty.
That's right.
Because when we all do whatever we feel like doing, whenever we feel like doing it, there's only one path that leads to, and that is bondage. Where we're going to be free as a nation, and we're promoting all kind of mad ideas. That's the problem. The institutions by which the life of liberty is fostered, especially the marriage-based two-parent family and the churches and synagogues, are to be protected and cherished. That banana went out the window. Marriage-based, nuclear, two-family, parent family. Reverend Crab, come on in the 21st century. So what do we have? A mess. We have celebrities and movie stars talking about the virtues of women because they're liberated now. Having babies, they don't need a man. But they decide, well, I'm going to get a woman instead. I'm a graduate from Harvard Divinity School, class of 96, Masters of Divinity. I went back and forth with those people about some of this stuff. They send me the magazine every month. I just got the last one a couple days ago. I open the thing up and there's two men sitting on a couch in their house. That's the new family. Two bagel dogs on their lap. Both of them got beards. One of them got a bald head. And the insert said, whatever the first guy's name was, the other guy with the bald head and the beard, that was his wife. I said, this stuff is madness. And it's madness. And people are sitting and debating this stuff with a straight face. And saying something wrong with you when you don't go along with it.
That's right.
I said, his wife. I said, I love my brother Joe, but I sure wouldn't marry him. I said, this is madness. This is madness. The right to self-government entails the right to bear arms, by which tyranny can be resisted and new government established when necessary, according to the Declaration of Independence and the Second Amendment. That's the reason why the Second Amendment we've got to fight for. Because yes, they are working overtime to take your weapons. But guess what? When they take your weapons, you have nothing to defend yourself with. That's why Jesus told his disciples, if you don't have a sword, they didn't have guns back then. They had swords. He says, if you don't have one, buy one. Jesus further said, a strong man armed in his house, his goods are at peace.
Amen.
In other words, ain't no burglar coming in your house when you strapped up.
That's right. Come on.
Do not let anyone deceive you with nice sounding words that seem right, saying that weapons are the problem. Weapons are not the problem. I can take any kind of weapon that's manufactured, sit it right on that table, and it will sit there until hell freezes over. I've never seen a weapon yet jump up by itself and shoot somebody. It's not going to happen. Weapons are not the problem. People who use weapons unlawfully are a problem. And people who use weapons unlawfully will always get them. And people who are determined to kill you because murder is their thing, they'll kill you if they got to kill you with a knife and fork.
That's right.
So what are we going to do? Outlaw that?
Yes.
Yeah, next.
It's coming.
Then rocks.
Hey? Right. The point that I'm saying, you guys see how ridiculous this stuff is. When we talk about legislation for this, and legislation for that, and legislation for this, and we have to elect people to Congress, and elect people to the state legislature that's going to pass the legislation that we want. Really? What legislation do you know that's going to change somebody's heart?
That's right.
We got laws. I got to do a bullying presentation down in Knoxville Friday. All of a sudden now New Jersey is going to be tough on bullying. Well, guess what? I'm 67 years old. Let me see the hands of anybody in this room that wasn't bullied. We have laws on the books against murder. People are getting murdered as I speak. All this mess is nothing but politics. No law gonna stop bullying. Somebody's a bully, he goes, oh, there's a law now, I better not do it. Yeah, right. A bunch of nonsense. Morality Principles Part 2. Free speech and a free press are both required for the practice of responsible liberty according to the laws of nature and nature's God. We're losing free speech and we don't have a free press. That's obvious. People are subconsciously programmed to believe lies. I tell people all the time, whether I'm in a pulpit preaching in a church or whether I'm doing secular presentations like I'm doing tonight, I tell people all the time, you want to fool somebody? Simply tell them the simple, naked truth. Don't tell them a lie. Tell them the truth. And you'll fool them. Tell them a lie, you ain't gonna fool them. The problem with a lie, though, you gotta it keeps morphing. The truth, you just set it out there and say, okay, take it or leave it. You don't have to worry about what you said. Because it doesn't change. Because God is the author of truth. Jesus made that very clear in John 14:6. He says, I am the way. He didn't say I am a way, and Buddha's a way, and Mohammed's a way, and Harry Christian's a way, and the Pope's a way. He says, I am the way. I am the truth. Truth is not a concept. It's a person. And I am the life. And then he made sure he nailed it down that we didn't get it twisted. He says, no one comes to the Heavenly Father except he comes through me. Oh, Reverend Kraft, that's too narrow. What makes you Christians think you're the only one that got the answer? I said, don't take it up with me. I didn't write the Bible. It's for Jesus. If you got issue, you got issue with him. Call him a liar. Oprah Winfrey says, there's many ways to God. You have all these postmodernists on, oh, there's many ways to God. There is an inch of truth in that statement and a bushel of error. The inch of truth is, right, we're all going to die. We're agreeing on that, and we're all going to stand in front of God, whether we believe he exists or not. So yeah, we're all going to meet God, but will we meet him as Savior or as Judge? Osama bin Laden met God, but I don't think he saw any 72 virgins. And now, if he could come back, he would tell all the Islamists, guess what? The Quran is wrong. I'm down here in hell burning, and I ain't seen a virgin yet. And Christians was right. Let me tell you something about this straight and narrow Christianity. Well, we think that there's got to be many ways to God because there's so many different cultures and so many different religions. Reverend, surely it's not reasonable to think there's only one real right way. Yes, it is reasonable. I'll explain it to you in a language we all can understand. Email. My email address is slcraft1@verizon.net. If I leave one thing out, one letter out, or transpose one thing, will you get me online or will it bounce back? It'll bounce back. Why? Because the computer says there's only one right way. Some of you is looking at me strange. Let's take another one. Cell phones. We all have one. My cell phone number is 732-682-2741. Suppose I give somebody my number. Reverend, give me your cell phone number. I say, okay, 732-628-2741. I flipped two numbers. Will you get me on the phone? No. Why? Because I didn't do it the exact, straight, and narrow way. There was only one right way. Well, if mere human beings have enough sense to know that in some respects one size truly does fit all, you mean to tell me God doesn't know that too? All of these religions in the world are a direct result of man's ideas of how to reach God. The gospel is not man's ideas how to reach God. The gospel is not a religion. It's a relationship between a holy God in heaven and sinful people on earth. The gospel says we can't reach God. God had to come down in the person of Christ and reach us. The gospel is relationship, not religion. Religion says, I got to do something to please God. Relationship says, no, you can't please me. I've got to come down to meet you where you are. That's why Jesus came. We just celebrated Resurrection Sunday, last Sunday. If the gospel wasn't true and wasn't right for everybody, Jesus wouldn't have to die on that cross. There'd be no need for it if there were many ways to God. Well, Mary, what about all these folks in these other countries that are not Christians? What about the Japanese? They worship Buddha. What about the Africans? They worship this witchcraft. What about this and what about that? What about it? Are we all sinners? Did we all come out of Adam? How do we prove we're sinners? Because we all die. The Bible says the wages of sin is death. Do you know anybody that's achieved death? So that proves we're all sinners, no matter where we were born. Therefore, since we all have the same spiritual disease called sin, we all need the same spiritual solution, which is salvation from sin. Now all we got to do is find out who is the Savior from sin. Was it Buddha? No. Was it Mohammed? No. Was it Hare Krishna? No. Was it the 3 million gods of Hinduism? No. There's only one human being on planet Earth that says, I am the Lord, and beside me there is no other.
Amen. Amen.
No 50 ways to God. Every one of you in here can go out tonight and start a religion. But it's false. There's only one true way, and it's not religion. It's relationship with a holy God to bring together holy God and sinful man.
Amen. Amen.
It is a duty to do, okay, I did that one. Personal religious belief is not a requirement for American citizenship, but acknowledgement of our national belief that human rights and equality do come from God is a moral duty of American citizenship. Its rejection, in other words, rejection that our rights come from God, not from government, constitutes a denial of human rights and equality and is inconsistent with liberty. So in other words, we can't have it both ways. We can't say, well, I'm an atheist, but I'm a patriot. You may think you're a patriot, but you're deceived. Because I tell atheists all the time, I love debating atheists. I say, you're going to make a declarative statement that God does not exist. That statement is self-refuting. And they'll say, I have 15 minutes. Prove that self. I'll say, very simple. To make an imperative statement and say that God does not exist, you would have to be God. You would have to have all the knowledge in the universe and be able to look at me with a straight face and say, I have searched the universe high and low, and I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that God does not exist. Are you prepared to do that, sir? Well, of course not. Then shut up, you're not God. And then I give another argument. And it's a simple one. Do you believe in Santa Claus, sir? Well, of course not. Why? Everybody knows Santa Claus doesn't exist. They live in a little fairy. No. Why? Everybody knows that's a fairy tale. Right. You're telling me God's a fairy tale, right? Right. Then why do you spend millions of dollars to refute and promote something that you don't even believe exists? Why have you set up organizations like the American Atheist Association to disprove a God that you say doesn't even exist? Huh? You spend millions of dollars to disprove something that you say has no more reality than Santa Claus. Why don't you start an organization to come against Santa Claus? Or the Good Tooth Fairy? But yet you say God doesn't exist, but yet you spend time and energy and money to disprove something that you say is not real. That doesn't follow. No, in your heart you know God exists. But the Bible impedes your whole card. Because the Apostle Paul tells you in Romans chapter 1 why you are an atheist. The Bible says that they knew that God exists by looking at the creation. But they suppress what they know in their heart to be true to believe a lie. Psalms 14 verse 1 says, the fool in his heart has declared that God does not exist. God says you got to be a fool to say I don't exist. Because common sense tells us all. If we see something that's created, common sense tells us there's got to be a creator. I take my atheist friends, and take them to the Bronx Zoo. I say, man, you said we came from monkeys. Let's sit here and see the next time a monkey turns to a man. You'll sit there and hell freeze over. You'll never see it. You know why? Because it never happened. Something to be truly scientific has to be observable and repeatable. And since no one ever observed creation or evolution, one of them cannot be true. But we have to have an explanation for origins. So all the atheist does is come up with some bogus idea of macroevolution or Darwinism to try to disprove the Genesis account of creation. But yeah, it takes a whole lot more faith to believe that everything just happened by a bright light millions of years and a big bang. Then to believe, no, a supreme being created the first man, and we know his name. A supreme being created the first womb man that came out of his womb, and we know her name. The supreme being gave that man all the wisdom of the universe that he could name every animal, and whatever name he gave the animal, that's his name. Ask evolutionists to explain to you who the first one that was that evolved. Who was the first man? Who was the first woman? How did the animals get their names? They can't explain any of that because it's a lie coming out of the gate. So God says that if you deny God, you're denying human rights. You cannot be a true atheist or agnostic and then embrace human rights. The two don't compute. Here's the vision of a morally better world. These are some of John Birch's resolutions. First bullet, we're almost done. Patriots would preserve their God-given rights, which are life, liberty, property, free exercise of religion, right to bear arms, etc., through preserving our nation's sovereignty and the Constitution. We've got to preserve our sovereignty.
Amen.
Not being sucked into this one world government nonsense, because that's leading straight to the Antichrist. The lives of preborn children would be protected. No more of this pro-life rhetoric. No more of this this pro-abortion rhetoric. God says, woe unto you that shed innocent blood. God has a serious issue with abortion. He doesn't call it abortion. He calls it the shedding of innocent blood. He calls it murder. And if it's not murder, ask any person that believes in it, do you have to kill the baby? If they're not alive, leave it alone and see what happens. We don't have a problem killing our own unborn children, but we have a problem killing murderers. We have a problem killing whales and all that foolishness. Oh, don't kill the whale, but you can kill your child. That is twisted. Oh, don't cut down the tree, but kill your child. The traditional family would be preserved. The homosexual agenda would be rejected. We gotta reject this madness. I don't use the term gay rights. First of all, ain't nothing gay about it. But we bought into that lie to use that terminology. The term gay traditionally means happy-go-lucky. It has nothing to do with perversion. Call it what God calls it. God calls it sodomy.
That's right. Come on, brother.
And that's where we got the term Sodom and Gomorrah from. It's filth.
Amen. Speak it. Amen.
And people need to stand up and come against that spirit.
Yes.
Bound down to that mess. That mess is out the closet, and everybody who disagrees with it are told to get in the closet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going in the closet.
I'm with you, brother.
So what's your foolishness? God created men to be men and women to be women. Ain't no such thing as a gay man. That's an oxymoron. You're a man, you don't be switching, and the wrist ain't broke down. Those people are confused. They're sexually confused. Now we got transgender. What is that about? I mean, it's ridiculous. The moral absolutes of our Christian style civilization would be transmitted to our children. Children today are so confused because they don't know what to believe. They're told all kind of madness. We are older people in this room, but we are going to have to, we're grandparents, probably most of us here. We're going to have to stand up and teach our grown children to teach their children so that they can teach their children how to get back some moral principles. And if we don't do that, God will turn us loose and America will be no more. You can take that to the bank.
Come on.
I don't care who we put in office. General prosperity would be greatly increased by repudiating the legal plunder of the welfare state, whether it's individual or social welfare or corporate welfare. God says if you don't work, you don't eat. God also says this corporate welfare nonsense, bailouts and all that mess. It's all sin. The greediness in the hearts of human beings. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, we can't get all enamored over politics. It's not the answer. Here's our battle right here. The Bible tells you in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, for we are not wrestling means to struggle against or fight against, flesh and blood, that means human beings, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. There's where the problem is. The problem is invisible. There is a real devil. His name is Satan. And it makes no difference if you believe in him or not. And he don't wear red pajamas and he got a pitchfork. He is a spirit. His original name was Lucifer, son of the morning. But he thought that he would do more than God. And God says there's only one God here. You're out of here, Lucifer. I'm casting you down to the earth like lightning. There is a devil. And if there isn't one, then explain where evil comes from. And why can't we get rid of it? We can figure out how to put a man on the moon, but we can't figure out how to eradicate evil. Because there's a spiritual force that's stronger than any human being.
Amen.
And the Bible pulls this whole card and tells you who that spiritual force is. He's a wicked angel. He's the chief of demons. His name is Satan the devil. That's our real fight. Quote by John Adams, second president of the United States, said this June 21st, 1776. He said, statesmen, back then they called them statesmen, now it's just politicians, may plan and speculate for liberty. So that's what we're doing today. But it is religion and morality alone. Religion and morality alone. Religion and morality alone, which can establish the principles upon which freedom can stand. Liberty and prosperity, citizens for freedom in Ocean County, it is morality. If we want to keep our liberty. Through self-government, through people checking themselves out and doing the right thing. Then it says the only foundation of a free constitution is pure virtue. And if this cannot be inspired into our people in a greater measure than they have it now, he said that in 1776, he told over his grave, he saw this mess. They, look at this, look what he said. They may change their rulers, that's politicians, and the form of their government, but they will not obtain a lasting liberty. That is prophetic. You think he just made that up? God told him to give that to us. And that we see that's exactly what's happening. We go from the Republicans to the Democrats, from the Democrats to the Republicans, from the Republicans to the Democrats to the Independents, from the right wing to the left wing, from the left wing to the center, from the center to back to the right wing, and all of this mess. And nothing changes.
Right.
Because of that. So we're finished. And I'm right on time. We're going to bring Brother Corsi up. I'm going to close with a closing prayer. I'm going to decree it and I'm going to declare it. And the prayer is straight out the Bible. The prayer is found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. That's our true answer to save our nation. Solomon prayed this prayer. He says, if my people, who are called by my name, what's his name? Jesus, will do what? Humble themselves. And then do what? Pray. And then do what else? Seek my face. And then do what else? Turn from their wicked ways. Then what God said? God said, then I'll hear from heaven. Then I will forgive their sins. And then I will heal their land. That's the answer. And if we don't want that, we might as well forget it. We can have all the Tea Party meetings we want. We'll just get rid of one group of wicked sinners and put it in another group. Only God's going to heal America. Nothing else will work. And I'll stake my life on that statement. I will not pull back from it. And I dare anybody to prove me wrong. All you do is just watch and see. It hasn't happened. It never will happen. God's got to do it. And the only way God will do it is if we fulfill his promise, his conditions. If my people, who are your people, God? Christians, who are called by my name. What's your name? Christ. We'll do what? Humble ourselves. We can't be proud and lifted up. We got to humble ourselves. We got to be, Lord, we're wrong. We repent. We are wrong. And then pray. Lord, fix this thing for us. And then we got to turn from our wicked ways. We got to repent. We got to stop playing both ends against the middle. God said if we'll do those things, God says he'll hear our prayers from heaven. God says he'll forgive us of our sins. And then God says he will heal our land. God bless you all.